Hey everyone. Last week we mentioned we'd be having Sir Duffer on to kick off Crown Month. Unfortunately, Duffer recently had some surgery and won't be joining us this week. Don't worry, he's recovering well, and once he's feeling better, we're going to have him on to follow up with him. In the meantime, be sure to keep Sir Duffer and his family in your thoughts and prayers, and if you know the guy, maybe reach out and let him know you're thinking of him. This week is going to be a little different, as we have a few different things in the works. We still plan on delivering our Crown Belt month in February, but there may be a few extra releases between now and then. This week, we're dropping a teaser of things to come. Baronet Vidalia and Lord Kwon are going to take the WAK show to women and non-binary folks around the Amtgard world to try and make things a little bit less of a sausage fest. We're still trying to work out the best day and time for these to release, but for now, we're going to put them in our prime slot and see how things shake out. Let us know what you think. Be sure to leave feedback, and as we firm things up on our end, you can expect these to become a somewhat regular release. We also have a few other surprises during Crown Month. Stay tuned for those. In the meantime, the WAC crew are hosting a class for the Winner's Edge Mid-Reign, all on podcasting. If you're interested in starting your own show, be sure to come. Even if you don't want to start your own project, we've got a lot to show off. If you want to see what happens behind the scenes here at WAC, it's going to be a lot of fun. With all of that out of the way, I'm going to hand things over to Baronet Vidalia and Lord Kwon. You can expect to hear from us again next Friday at noon, but for now, we're going to roll the intro and let them take over for this week.
I'm Sir Flobogen Thunderhammer.
And I'm Teflon Frosthammer.
And I'm Cabbage Tidehammer.
And none of those dildos are going to be here. Hi, this is Baronet Vidalia.
This is Lord Kwon Quarrel.
And this is WAP. That's Women, Amtgard, and People.
If Amtgard knighthood means anything, you can't knife a motherfucker and keep it.
And the thing that people need to understand essentially about arts and sciences events is that your scores don't matter.
Do you want a black phoenix or a white phoenix?
Jeez, language, man. We're on
right.
a freaking podcast, for fuck's sake.
Mind-blowing experience, right?
This afternoon, we have Captain Sethriel McQuill from Fira Renai with us today. Say hi.
Hi. Don't put me on the spot or anything. It's all right.
You're good. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, we have already failed the women portion of this because I am very non-binary.
I think Kwon is too, is that right?
We're doing our best. I'm a person. I'm sort of a person.
Allegedly. We're all people.
We're attempts. I am the Chancellor of Fira Renai. I am technically the pro tem Chancellor right now because we have not had anyone who was either comfortable themselves or that I felt comfortable pushing into the position for roughly the last 3 years. I've held every local office, and 0 kingdom offices because kingdom office is a headache.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So
I say with 2 people in kingdom office right now.
So, what exactly do you do as Chancellor?
As Chancellor, for the most part, I put in the credits and I hang on to the money. There's honestly not that much to do at a park this small. When there are votes, I run the voting. When there is an event, I help run the event. But for the most part, I do signing credits and I take care of the money.
Nice. So both of you have been in Amtgard longer than I have. How and you said you've held basically every office there is to hold. How does Chancellor compare to the others?
I would say there's less to do on a day-to-day basis, but you are responsible for a lot more if anything goes wrong. Like if money goes missing, it is on your head and you could be legally liable. However, at a regular park day, pretty much all I have to do is bring the book.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I just remember the FR was my first park, so Sethriel was the first that I ever played Amtgard with. And I remember that, like, the first month that I was playing, we had some dude in as Chancellor. I don't remember him, but he got banned because he stole the books and the money. Like, he stole it all. He just... And so, like...
Oh, it was this huge issue. His name was Seer. He was an old friend of our current monarch, who found out that our current monarch was running an Amtgard park. And came out to join and wormed his way into power, wormed all of his little dildo friends into power with him, committed voter fraud when I ran against him for Baron.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was this whole issue. He was in charge of the write-in votes, and somehow everyone who was there live voted for me, and everyone who voted write-in voted for him, you know, since he was the only one who saw the votes. So it came out to a dead tie. And he said, okay, as Baron, I get to vote an extra vote to break a tie. And I'm like, oh, no, you don't. So we called the prince at the time, who I think was put in, and talked to him about it. And he was like, yeah, that's not okay. So we talked to Puddin about it. It kind of went into limbo for a little while. Seer stole all of our materials that were in his possession, ran away, and we never heard from him again, except we got our lockbox back.
Yep.
We didn't get our ledger back, so we have no idea if the right amount of money was in the lockbox, but we got some money back.
Wow.
And my first act as Baroness was to ban him.
Perfect. That seems like the fitting, seal on that situation.
Yep.
How long was he banned for?
6 months, but we have not seen him since.
We did see him once during his ban. I remember it because he was playing not Amtgard across the creek from us at the park that we played at.
Yeah, we play at a really nice park that has one huge open field and a smaller open field with a playground and stuff.
Okay.
He came to our park and we had to explain to him that no, you can't play with us. You are banned. I don't know what ban means to you, but to me it means you are not welcome here.
Right.
And he and his little crony friends, who were also banned for aiding and abetting, went to play not Amtgard by the other side of the creek. And
right. Amtgard, as we call it.
It was so ridiculous. But after I heard that story, because that day, because I didn't know what was going on, I had been in the game for maybe a week at that point. So I wasn't paying attention to anything. But then I realized that like my first 3 weeks of credits or so have never been put in the orc because they were gone. They were stolen. So it doesn't look like I started Amtgard in November of 2014, but I did, I swear.
Yeah.
So both of you are from FR. You started there. Did you start there?
Kind of.
Okay.
My first official day of Amtgard was at Fairnai, but when I was about 14 years old in Franklin, Tennessee, my best friend Jason Lawrence told me about this fun new game he found out about called Amtgard, spelled Ampgaurd. Yeah. And we started a high school chapter using duct tape and PVC weapons.
Perfect.
And
very safe.
And I played fake Amtgard for about 4 years before I joined the larger community. I sometimes wonder what would happen if, like, Mechia or Radiant Valley came to Franklin and, like, checked us out, like, who are these toddlers playing our game? Like, would we have been welcome in the budding principality? Would we have been told, hey, you guys need to chill?
Maybe less than duct tape.
I actually got a black eye from those duct tape weapons one time.
No.
And I am not good at words or subtext. And a teacher asking me, hey, Seth, what happened to your eye? The worst thing you can possibly say is, oh, my boyfriend hit me.
Did you explain after that? Like,
I explained to the counselor.
Fair.
Yeah, but I mean, who hasn't been injured by their partner at the time in Amtgard? Because I remember my first event, my partner and I were doing the Midnight Iron Man, and he gave me a bloody nose. So, like, who doesn't hurt?
I was playing another game with Avi, using our Amtgard sticks. We were doing just a little fighter practice just to get people back in the mood of fighting.
Right.
And I stepped in a hole and kind of not really twisted my ankle, but like almost twisted my ankle at the same time as he hit me right on the shin with a massive pole arm.
Right.
And there was this resounding crack. And like for a solid 3 seconds, I was like, oh God, my leg is broken.
Oh no.
It wasn't. I was fine. I had a lightly twisted ankle that went away after 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a solid second where I was like, we're in the middle of nowhere. He's going to have to carry me to the hospital.
Yeah, well, when something like makes that crunch or whatever, ugh, you always fear the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you always.
Mm-hmm.
So you've both told us about how you got into Amtgard. What kept you in Amtgard? Like, what kept you coming back?
Well, when I first started, FR was kind of dwindling. I think we were still trying to make ourselves a little bit more noticed. And within my first 6 months, I was asked to be in this position.
It was either Regent or Champion.
Yeah, I think it was Regent because I signed award.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I had doing so. I filled the seat basically and put. And then the next time that we did officer positions, I ran for Baron.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to be Baron for a year. Ran twice. Got it. I remember during my, I think, in the middle of my first reign, that our Chancellor quit. So I then took over all the Chancellor duties as well.
Baronet has a very hard time keeping people in office.
I see.
Yeah. It was an interesting time. So I was trying to post every park day to like hype us up and get people out.
Mm-hmm.
That a lot of people were on our Facebook but weren't coming out. I made sure that I was there, meet twice a week. So I was there twice a week, and it was exhausting. Oh my God, local park can just be so much more exhausting than Kingdom just because of a weekly requirement.
Yeah, you have to keep up with it.
Mm-hmm. It's not as much work, but it is every single week.
Yeah. I think that's what tore me down from local office. Trying to run 2 positions at local office is definitely nowhere near as hard of working for like 1 week every month or so on Kingdom stuff. Like, sure, I'm really stressed about it all the time, and people message me randomly, and people who I can't remember their names know my name right off the bat, which is terrifying. I'm so sorry that I don't ever remember names. But I'm not doing it every week.
Yeah. It's like a lot of work all at once at Kingdom level,
Mhm.
and then just like constant small work at park level.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have the same issue with like people know me, but I don't know them because I've been in the game for so long,
Mhm.
and I post online so much, and I post online under my Amtgard name, so it's like, oh, it's Sethra. I'm like, oh, it's whoever the fuck you are.
Yeah, I definitely knew who you were before you knew who I was.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's one of those things that just happens when you've been in the game for a decade.
Mhm.
The story grows. There's no story there, but everyone knows it.
So, I don't know about you guys, but like one time when I was at an event, I would overhear like people talking about me before they knew like my face. So I would walk up and people would be like shit talking Radiant Valley, calling them a bunch of stick jocks or whatever. And then they would be like,
I mean,
so
are
it's
they
nice to meet you. Who
wrong?
are you? And I'm like, I'm the monarch of Radiant Valley. So what were you going to say?
Are they wrong?
No.
It's not all stick dogs.
We have our token flurb, okay?
Yeah.
Shout out to Boop. Ooh, Z2. Z can be a flurb.
Yeah, I was like K kind of flirby too.
K is kind
like,
of flurby. We have 3 flurbs, I'll have you know.
Okay, we have all of our baits that haven't been beaten to death by our stick dogs is basically what it is.
Yet.
Yet.
Is Z really a baby? Hasn't she been in the game for like 3 years?
She's still I'm sorry.
So Z has been in the game about as long as I have. However, she first played at Dragon's Hollow before she came to Radiant Valley in like 20. So Z has been in the game longer than I have, technically, by like quite a while.
You started in 2014, then I'm a baby.
Well, she took a break, so.
I'm sorry, Z. You're not a baby. You are a full-grown person.
By those line of reasoning, I am also a baby.
You are a baby.
You are a little bit of a baby.
That's fair. I got last time I was on WAK, they asked me about my newbie goggles, and I was like, do I count as a noob?
Has anyone else here ever, like, not really gotten involved, but like seen the State of the Amtgard report?
No, I've never seen a State of Amtgard report.
I think I've attempted to do a State of Amtgard report when I was the KPM, and I don't think anybody cared.
State of the Amtgard report was an interkingdom thing that Dame Tie-Dye did before she died. They're actually thinking about restarting it, that Beltline. But obviously, when she died, no one wanted to try to fill those shoes. And it kind of just got statistics on, like, the average player, the longest running players, the average park, the longest running parks, things like that. The average playtime of an Amtgarder is about 3 years. The average lifespan of a park is about 4 years, 3.5 years. So pretty much anyone who has been in the game longer than that is going to be in the game forever.
Nice.
Unless something terrible.
Yeah, unless they get absolutely persona non grata by some crazy drama and quit the game forever.
Well, I have, 10 more months, and then I'll hit my 3-year mark.
Yay!
And then I'll be your forever friend.
You'll be permagard.
So, as, female adjacent non-binaries, what would you put in the State of Amtgard report?
I was actually really interested in the gender breakdown, especially at all levels of Amtgard, and they actually did that. And it turns out women, by just base population, make up about 25% of all Amtgarders, but somewhere around 40% of all leadership positions.
Nice.
Yeah. Only about 15% of... Okay, I'm doing the math wrong. Women make up about 15% of the active fighters, so only roughly half of all women fight actively. But there's honestly so much to do in our game that,
Yeah, it's a lot more than fighting.
Yeah. And I think people forget that a lot, especially right now when... No, they won't forget it right now because we're doing so much online stuff and online ANS and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking for my park, since we haven't been to an event in so long, pretty much all we do on the week to week is go out and fight.
Right.
Like, every once in a while, someone will make something cool and we'll be like...
That just feels like FRT.
It really does.
So I know your park regent is doing a lot to, like, make ANS more active locally. What would you like to see at your park?
ANS wise?
Yeah.
I would love to see everyone make their own garb, because right now we have 3 people who have played for more than a year, and about 6 people. They don't usually all come out on the same day, but we have a rotating cast of about 6 people who have been playing for less than a year and only have sticks because we made sticks with them. And have literally nothing else for Amtgard.
Right.
So I would love to see... I want to hold a garb making workshop, and my page actually came up with this fantastic idea of crafting in character.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
So I think once it warms up a little bit and we can take sewing machines outside and stuff, we have a location at one of our parks that has like a power strip. We're going to take a bunch of sewing machines out. I don't know if you noticed, but I have 3 sewing machines.
Right.
A couple other people have a couple sewing machines, and we're just going to make basic garb in character.
That sounds really good.
That'll be...
I'm really excited for it.
So, at a park that does a lot of fighting, and since we were just talking about like the state of Amtgard report and the percentage of like female fighters, what do you think would help improve participation from women in Amtgard?
I think a lot of it is seeing other women fight and seeing that it is not just a boys' club and that it's not, you don't have to be the princess who gets rescued or the NPC or by the sidelines. Like, absolutely nothing wrong if that's all you want to do in Amtgard. You just want to come out, hang out, do some embroidery or whatever. But I think seeing that there are other options for women and that if you go out to fight, you will not be alone, I think it helps.
Right.
Yeah, and I think with class games, I think it helps women to feel comfortable fighting. Lots of classes not necessarily be in the combat, but you can still be out on.
Yeah, you don't always have to be like a frontline bruiser. You can
Yeah.
play like a smart druid or wizard or archer or something.
Oh yeah. Like there's plenty of options to be able to wet your feet into fighting. If it's something that worries you about getting hit or
the first thing I do when I have a female fighter on the field is I hand them a sword and say, "Hit me as hard as you can."
Yeah.
And then they hit me, I say, "No, I said as hard as you can." And just keep that going for about as long as it's funny, and then kind of explain, okay, this is just to show you, you are not going to hurt me. These are not going to hurt you. I'm going to hit you about as hard as a mid-level hit. Sometimes you'll be hit a little harder than this, sometimes a little bit softer. But literally the worst thing I have ever gotten at Amtgard was a small bruise.
Right.
And that was one time. And I think being the one to hit first, it was from gun, by the way. I think being the one to hit first and being able to see that, like, it doesn't hurt, especially on someone they can relate to who is either the same size or smaller than them. And, like, very clearly not rhino hiding or, like, testosteroning up and being like, "Oh, it doesn't hurt."
Yeah.
Man.
Tensing every muscle.
Yeah.
Right. Because this is one of those lightest touch games.
It's not lightest touch, it's no necessary force.
Right.
Lightest touch plays very differently.
Okay.
A lot slow.
It's supposed to be. In actual combat, lightest touch tends to run a little bit slower than Amtgard, but not for any lack of trying. Every lightest touch game is different. Every lightest touch game defines their rules differently. Most of them have a rule that you can only hit one time per second, but no one pays attention to that rule at all.
See, I've only ever played Amtgard.
Yeah. I've played Amtgard, I've played a little bit of DAG, and there is a local lightest touch LARP called Altera Awakens. It's actually a lot of fun. And I actually took a whole bunch of Amtgarders to one time just to, like, be the NPC team, try something different, absolutely roll their field. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I know we were talking about like improving female or non-men presence on the field by having like other non-men fighters. Who are some non-men fighters that you look up to?
Lexi
for sure.
I do love Lexi and Kingdom. Fabulous.
I really look up to Lexi. I really look up to Fiddles and Valkyrie. Valkyrie was she doesn't know this, but she was quite honestly the one who kept me fighting when I was getting beaten down just day after day, because I saw that it wasn't an issue of girls suck, it was an issue of I need to do better.
I always love to see Elaine.
Yeah.
I love to see her take the field. She's a fantastic fighter. Hard to better fighter game. Seeing a lot of female archers around. I love going. Well, now it's Silver Blade, but former East Wind, all there. A lot of also amazing the game.
Speaking of archers, our Paragon archer Arco.
Yeah, she's a fabulous shot.
Yeah, she ruined my life as a barbarian.
Yes. her claim to fame for the dead weights was one time shooting her bow out of her hands and still holding the arrow at the end. So that's why she's a dead weight, in case anybody didn't know that story.
I am still not sure what the dead weight. Like, I know who is a dead weight. I just don't know what you are.
Well, so in case anybody didn't know, the Deadweights are the most exclusive fighting company in Amtgard, because if you get too many warriors, we will kick you out. There's the highest warrior achieved by anybody. The Deadweights has been 2 so far. That is by me and by Riven, because Pyam likes to play jokes on us and give us our second warriors. It's very but yeah, it was more or less just like a joke within pretty much my belt line, and I saw all of them being the Deadweights, and I was like, "Are you a Deadweight?" They're like, "You have to ask the Torches, our nemesis." And I was like, "Oh, jeez." So that year, I went to Gathering of Clans and asked if I could join the Deadweights from the Torches, who are our nemesis. The story of how they became the Deadweights' nemesis is that one year, Pyam won the food fight to have Delos come and teach a fighting class. So at that point, the original founders of the Deadweights, Riven, Arco, and Tenebrae, Nebi, made a note with crayon saying, "Will you be our nemesis? Circle yes or no."
Now, I have a very serious question. Do the Torches know that they're your nemesis?
Yes. We get together every time I'm at an event that there's a torch. I go and find the Torches, because then we exchange poison, which is normally a bottle of whiskey, and then we do whiskey shots, which is how I blacked out at Clan one year. It was a rough year.
Oh God, Clan is a terrible place to black out drunk. Like, you're already in the mountains of New Mexico. You're already dehydrated. Like,
so it was Clan, and it was during like my second year being a vegetarian, so there was like no food that I could eat.
Oh no.
And so then I went and found the Torches, and I did a shot with each torch. So I hadn't eaten. I did a shot with each torch, which was about 8 shots. I think I still have the shot glasses somewhere.
I'm
'Cause
so sorry.
I received all of their shot glasses, and they got mine, and I signed my name on it, but I have all of their names on their shot glasses. And then I walked back up the hill up to like where the dining hall is, where those benches are. I don't know the site. Probably a lot of people that might listen to this. And I was with Pi, and I met one more torch on the way up, and I took a swig from his beer because he didn't want to take a shot. Like,
right.
So I still had a drink with him.
God, remember back pre-COVID when we used to drink out of each other's cups?
I know.
The before times.
The before time. Remember when you'd have to put on a mask before you got out of your car? It's crazy. But anyway, so, and then we got up to the top of the hill. I was walking with Pi. Got up to the top of the hill. I remember sitting on the bench, and I think Arison was there, and there were a couple other people, and they were just chatting. I remember sitting there. It was still sunlight. And then I laid down, and then the next thing I know, it's dark. I'm sitting on the ground, and people are holding my arms. Something bad happened. That's as much detail as I'm going to go into that story, because it is rough.
So, I've heard other stories about the Deadweights, like something about the monarch being killed with the dagger of his champion, or you want to elaborate on that?
So when I was Kingdom Champion, King Sheeran allowed me to appoint the Dead as crown, which in hindsight is
Well, they're the Deadweights.
They're the Deadweights. I was the Kingdom Champion, and I was like, you know what? I want my fighting company to be the Crown Guard. He was like, you know what? Okay. Which was a terrible plan. So at one of the ANS symposiums, we were about to start court. I think I went off. I was I was hanging out by, I want to say it was Belle.
Mm-hmm.
So Belle and Calladia. So Calladia was like, "Oh, I have to go to the bathroom." So she gave, I want to say Belle, her dagger. So that was a terrible plan. So Belle took that dagger, and when Calladia came back, stabbed Calladia, and then stabbed me. I got one throwaway off to try and hit somebody. But I think I hit her in their dead leg.
Of course.
It happens.
And
So did she just like knee crawl to the king and?
Well, like, I think I was like in front of Veshirin. I didn't realize she had a weapon. Well, I think I realized that it was Calladia's weapon, so I was like, oh, okay, so she's chill. It's fine. It's Calladia's weapon. And then she stabs me. And then Chase is right behind me. And so he gets stabbed. And so we're all, like, the entire crown is dead in the floor at the back of Aena's symposium. And we're like, well, what a fun turn of events. So yes, the king was murdered with a dagger from the crown guard, but not held by the crown guard, let me just say.
So, Sethriel, are you in a fighting company at all?
Yeah, we don't really have much of a presence in Winter's Edge, but I am part of Path of the Dragon.
Okay.
Most of our members are scattered around. Like, we used to be centered in Illinois, but like people have moved,
Mm-hmm.
and we've taken in new people, and I don't think we have a central location right now.
Okay.
Path of the Dragon, our tagline is pursuing competitive excellence.
Mm-hmm.
We actually have two paths in Path of the Dragon, the wax path and the craft path. I minor in WAK, I major in crafts.
Fair, yeah.
Mhm.
That's a good way to put that.
No, that's how we put it. And we've put it like, we have said if you want to be part of the Path of the Dragon, you have to at the very least minor in wax.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we wanted to make a crafting household, we would have just made a crafting household.
Right.
There are actually quite a few people who either double major or major in crafts and minor in wax. I don't know that there is anyone who is majoring in wax and minor in craft. I need to look that up.
Okay. So tell me how you joined this fighting company.
At the event that we won, that Delos came here to teach the class, a bunch of old Path members were also here, and apparently I made a good impression on them.
Nice.
Because 2 weeks later, I got a message from an absolute stranger. Hey, how would you like to join our fighting company? And I looked into them. I didn't just like say yes right off the bat, but everything I saw about them was they're doing good work and they're doing a really good job and they're actually taking things seriously. And I was like, sure, why not?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I've been in the fighting company with them for 6 years.
6 years. That's impressive.
Roundabout.
Yeah.
Kwon, how long have you been a deadweight?
Oh, let's see. It would have been the first gathering event that I went to. It was when we made Kingdom. So
2017.
So yeah, I've been a deadweight for as long as we've been a Kingdom.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, nice.
I'll never forget the date that way. It's
Well,
on my Amped wiki.
I'm not in a fighting company. So hypothetically, if the three of us made one, what would we call it?
Oh God.
Well, the issue with that is you would be poaching from two different fighting companies. And that is very...
Well, what they don't know won't hurt them. So,
but we're recording this, Vidalia.
You don't think my company's gonna listen to this?
My company is almost
What-
kind of dead. So.
what's that over there?
But Vidalia, what companies have you seen that you would be interested in?
That I would be interested in? Well, I know of the Triads and the Seraphim.
Okay.
I know of the Maelstrom.
Is Maelstrom still around?
They're alive.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're vaguely around. I'm pretty sure Teflon wears his Maelstrom shirt, and so
Yeah.
does Chops.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just haven't seen them as a unit in
Yeah,
a
and
while.
I think Walbaron slowly rises from the grave. So
We'll just have to.
Zodiac is still around.
yeah, the Zodiac is still around. I think they're
Mhm.
mostly in Dragon's Hollow right
Mhm.
now.
So those are the fighting companies I know of.
You
Okay.
know if the Deadweights don't lie.
Well, I do know of the Deadweights, but we just talked about them. So And if I were gonna join one, probably the deadweights. They're the only ones who me and my one warrior can go fight with them.
We die to fight again. Oh gosh, we have a bunch of phrases on our Amped wiki for the deadweights, and I can't remember any of them right now. But they're very hysterical because we die a lot.
Now I feel bad because Path doesn't have any catchphrases. The closest we have is Karai's Big Spoon Always.
So can you explain that to us?
Yeah, Karai is one of the heads of our fighting company, and he is quote unquote Path Dad.
Nice.
And it was codified in our very first like company bylaws. Karai is Big Spoon always, and over rewrites and recycles and stuff, it has just stayed in there.
Perfect.
And I don't think anyone left in the company except for the two company leaders remember what it means.
Well, Big Spoon Always, right?
Yeah, I mean, in theory it's self-explanatory, but like, I'm sure there's more to it.
There's gotta be a story.
Probably.
Now
like,
we need to find the story.
We do cuddle a lot.
That's always a plus.
It's cold at keep.
Yeah, as is natural for all of Amtgard. I don't think I've been to an Amtgard event where I don't end up spooning someone.
And float on the floor of the cabin.
Yeah, so at Symposium it was freezing cold, and Kwon and I were drunk after
court?
Something after the Yule Ball.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah, and so we go back into the cabin eventually, and we both fall asleep on the floor, and I'm cold, so I wedge my like frigid fingers underneath Flo.
It was a great time.
Yeah, so I was the sand, like the middle
Yep.
filling in a Kwon and Flo sandwich.
I'm sorry, Flo, if you don't recall this.
Oh, he remembers.
Okay.
He was like, "Did you wedge your fingers underneath me in the middle of the night?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Gotta protect those drawing digits.
That's right.
Oh, sorry.
It was very cold, that symposium.
I mean, February. Why?
It snowed everywhere else in the state, basically, except on site. So
Why can't we just like pause and start like from the end of December until like March 3rd?
Most other LARPs actually do take a pause in the winter. Like most groups' last game of the year is in late October, early November, and they just go dormant and pick up in like March. And it's actually a lot of fun to explain to people. I'm on our LARP on Reddit, and I answer a lot of questions, and most of the questions are what is up and running now, and I have to explain to people nothing. There's a pandemic happening.
yeah, that happens a lot. Like we'll get people constantly asking me or Z when park is gonna reopen, and I'm like, when we legally can.
Yeah, like I see it on the RV page at least once a month. Like, hey, I'm new in town. When do you guys meet? Online, whenever you want. Just hop on our Discord. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
When do you guys meet? We do not. Thank you for your interest. Come back in 6 to 8 months.
So let's talk about post-COVID, because someday, maybe eventually, hopefully, we will get there.
That's a lot of words
So
to describe this future scenario.
Well, I can't give up hope yet.
Oh, just join me.
I'm hanging on.
Pessimism.
I'm hanging on, clutching for dear life by a thread to this last shred of hope. So post-COVID, how are we going to like reopen parks? Do you guys have a reopening plan, or what would you like to see?
I don't think I'm qualified to answer this because we are currently playing.
That's fair.
I think that as a game, definitely gonna need to come together and figure out how we're gonna do this game-wide safely.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's definitely going to have to involve everybody being willing to have the temperature taken and being open to the idea that a majority of players to come back.
Yeah. So like implementing safety precautions like masks and hand sanitizer and
Showers, shower people,
Please,
please.
please give us a site with good showers.
I feel like you're calling me out specifically.
No, not you. Trust me.
I mean, we all know how I got my name.
Yeah, we do.
It's because I stink.
Because you eat onions like apples. That's why.
Fair.
Do you really?
Yes.
Oh my god.
It hurts.
I on an online event for Radiant Valley ate an onion like an apple in front of everyone. And sometimes Kay will bring me whole vegetables to the field.
I just remember after that one travel event, which feels like 5,000 years ago, but I'm pretty sure it was just about a year ago
Mm-hmm.
when we went to White Oak and we went out to eat afterwards. And you were like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. If they come back to take our orders, Kwon, this is what I want. But I want you to say this phrase exactly. So many onions that when you think that you're going to stop, you add more.
That is true. That's what I said verbatim.
Meanwhile, I made curry recently, and I had to get into a little bit of an argument over whether or not we actually needed onion in it because I do not want onion in my curry.
That's fair. I know onion's not for everyone. It should be, but it's not.
I did end up putting the onion in it. It did turn out really nicely, but like I had to cut an onion.
See, I eat so many onions, I'm immune. I no longer cry when I cut onions. So like my page will make me food or whatever, but she'll make me cut the onions for her.
Like I didn't cry cutting the onion. I just didn't like it.
Fair.
Yeah, that's understandable. It is a process.
It's a sensory experience.
I cook a lot, so I'm cutting onions a lot because the base for pretty much anything that I do is butter, garlic, and onion.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm cutting onions at least once.
If you want to make your onions more mild, you can, once you cut the onion up, rinse it under water, and it will remove the chemical that makes it like more acrid.
Pungent?
Yeah, pungent. And then if you want to not cry while you cut onions, you can chew gum.
Okay. Interesting.
Onion facts.
You thought this was about Amtgard, now it's about cooking.
Ooh, I switched it on you. But
So-
does the matchstick trick from the help work?
I don't know what's the matchstick trick.
I don't know. I just remember watching the help and she was getting tips and tricks from the help.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to be you light a match and it takes away the onion smell the same way lighting a match takes away a fart smell, but no, it doesn't work because an onion smell does not come from a flammable gas.
Fair. Now we know.
Mm-hmm.
But the tip was just to hold the matchstick between, like, is it lit? And then they just laugh. So I'm still unsure about that trick. I know. I don't know. I don't.
I don't know.
All right. As much as it pains me, let's move off the topic of onions.
I'm so
I do have a related topic to take us to.
Sure.
I recently got an Instapot, and I learned that you can cook an entire meal using nothing but ingredients and the Instapot. And Abby's truck has an outlet in it, so I am going to be taking my Instapot and like a cooler full of food to events and stuff where I don't trust the food, like keep,
Mm-hmm.
and just cooking stew.
That's
That's
perfect.
awesome. That'll be good.
So I will actually have good food to eat at keep. I'm so excited.
But, like, let's be honest, some of the camp setups at Keep are pretty wild and they're ready to cook. Like, I've seen, like, full on, like, huge griddles and huge grills out there some years, and I'm just like, you guys are really prepared. Like, they've got, like, pavilions set up. They're, like, out there cooking breakfast and lunch. Like, LARPing, aren't we? Who's got time for this right now?
So you guys have been in Winter's Edge much longer than I have, or like visited inter-kingdom events or things like that. What are some weird food traditions in Amtgard?
Midnight bacon.
Midnight bacon. I know that one.
Midnight bacon's a big one for Winter's Edge.
One thing I noticed my last time at Keep, the morning of the tournament, most of the fighters take the field early in the morning with a bottle of Pedialyte because they were drinking like it was the end of the world on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't go into the tournament dehydrated. That tournament lasts like 8 hours.
Oh god, it's so long.
Gatorade is not enough.
Oh, it was such a long tournament, and then the next day was the women's tournament, and it was just raining.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved. we moved from being on the field because then it started pouring. Then we were in one of the tents that they were using for like overflow for dining, and where people were playing games and stuff. And we were like, "This is ridiculous. This is so silly."
So I've only seen. No, I slept through it, but I've only been at an event that had a women's tournament once. What do you guys think of women's tournaments?
I think they're still kind of in their infancy, but once they actually get going, they will be fantastic. I forgot who it was. Someone on WAK who said like you need to get the bar up there before there is actually any competition. Like they made the comparison of the women's WMMA. How it was kind of a joke until Ronda Rousey came and put everyone and their grandma in an armbar.
Right.
Then more people started seeing, oh, this is the competition now, and stepped it up, and now it's like actually a really competitive sport.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt at the Gathering of the Clan Women's Non-Binary Tournament. I believe that's run by the Valkyries. Or it's an all women and non-binary fighting.
It's either Valkyries or House Lioness.
It wasn't House Lioness. I think it was Valkyries that were mainly, like running the tournament. But I remember Kiera was a big part of the organization, but she was also in the tournament, and she is a terror to fight. Oh my god, she's an amazing fighter. Definitely one of the ones that I look up to, and I've gotten to fight Sir Boots once.
Oh my god.
She is terrifying. I fought her against her in a ditch line. She was running pole arm. I think I was running sword and board. And it was terrifying. I thought I was going to lose a kneecap. Like, but like, those tournaments at Gathering of the Clans have been really well organized, and I think really well hyped up. And I think that they had pretty good differentiation of level.
Right.
And had a lot of good talent there. A lot of the really big name women fighters.
Okay.
Yeah. I was a little bit disappointed with the women's tournament the year I fought in it at Keep, but this was also like 2017, 2018. So this was like one of the first IK women's tournaments ever held. And people kind of treated it as a joke.
Right.
Yeah, I can remember the boards going off about that. Everybody like, women tournaments shouldn't be a thing if they can't compete at the same field.
Women in Amtgard.
Women in Amtgard.
Are there
they
any
can't
women
have
in
their they can't have their own tournaments. That's sexism. And they can't get awards from those because that's sexism.
But never mind that every other sport has a women's like subsection, right?
Yeah. And that like I think one of the main reasons for women's tourney is to promote women's fighting, since like we stated earlier, the statistics are that about half of the women that play Amtgard actually fight.
I don't know if it was fight period or fight competitively, but yeah.
Yeah.
But still, it's just another thing to bring women out and get women to see other women fighting.
So, with regards to women's tournaments, what are some ways to improve participation? Because it's being visible, but is it just keep having tournaments?
I think it is just keep having tournaments and shut down those nutsacks who think it's a stupid sexist idea.
Right.
Keep promoting them. give awards for them.
Mhm.
Don't make them a side tournament.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, a lot of them are advertised as, oh, and this is happening along with this main big tournament. Like,
Give them a place of prominence.
yeah,
Yeah.
because a lot of times they're like really early in the morning or like the day after the big tournament when everybody's exhausted because most of the bigger women fighters are also fighting in that tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so it's the day after that and everybody's exhausted, so hardly anybody shows up because for some reason they've decided to start the women's tournament at 9 in the morning.
Right.
I mean,
And
to
sign
be
up ended
fair-
at 8:30. Like, who's waking up that early at an Amtgard event besides me?
Mm-hmm.
Same.
I did wake up extraordinarily early my first keep and just wander around the empty campsite.
Yeah.
Like taking pictures of things, and the best picture I took was of a dude sleeping on his side just in the field. Like, I think he was under a tree, but man, I hope he had a tent somewhere and that just wasn't his sleeping arrangement.
That must have been cool.
It was a really warm keep. It was like 2017.
So, if you think, like, if you were to switch the main tournament to the 9 a.m. slot that the women's tournament had, do you think it would have had the same participation?
Like, as it normally would.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's hyped so hard. Like, I don't think that people are going to skip that big tournament ever. I don't want them to,
Mm-hmm.
but I want people to be just as hyped and ready to get the women's tournament. I think if we do it not on, like, what we tried to do it on, like, a dumb day, Thursday, like, at least do it on one of the more prominent days. Like, I know that normally we have, like, Friday night, Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're supposed to, like, that happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I don't know, maybe we need to figure out how to time our events better.
We also need to figure out how to manage our time better. Because the last Kingdom tournament I fought in was supposed to start at like 8:30 a.m. and 9:30 rolls around and we're
It
still just milling around
still hasn't
in
started,
the
right?
sun and it's hot.
Yeah.
And like they're talking breakfast is an hour and I'm like, the fuck it is.
Yeah. No, like, I understand that after being Kingdom champion. Getting a tournament to start is worse than hurting cats. It's like hurting koalas. Like, they're asleep, they're all over the place. They don't want to actually come when you tell them to come. Like,
Well, I just think that means that the people running the tournament need to put their foot down. Like, we're not going to change. Like, I slept through a tournament.
yeah,
You know?
well, the problem was, I'm like, okay, we're going to start exactly at this time. And then you have 3 people there for a Kingdom weapon master, and you're like,
Congrats, first, second, and third.
Fight it out round robin.
yeah, pretty much. I was totally, like, down to do that, but then the fighters there were like, no. And I was like, I told you this time.
Right.
They're like, we
Mhm.
want other people here. We're waiting for them. Like, a lot of people just day tripped and they were late. And I was like,
What can you do about that?
yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I think at a certain point you have to understand that everything runs on Amtgard time and like plan for that and like specifically say we're starting at this time, but actually we're starting at this time.
Oh yeah, that's what I do with all my schedules as local monarch. Is I say, like, we're leaving to go to the event site at 6 a.m. Be at my house, or you're getting left behind. But really, like, we can leave at 8 and still get there on time. I just tell them hours early so that I adjust for Amtgard time.
I think that specific tournament that happened so early in the morning also ran into the problem of we're trying to fight before breakfast.
Yeah.
Mm.
So all of us are fresh out of sleep on an empty tank, possibly still drunk from the night before.
Right.
Yeah, that's another thing is that I think event team that's running games thing needs to really, really help out and coordinate well with
Mm-hmm.
because I know I didn't even think about it. I was just like, I'm running on my schedule and I'm going to get my schedule done, and I would eat. And I can admit that.
Well, You and everyone else, apparently.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that I have is for like hyping the tournaments up, how would you recommend hyping a women's tournament? Like in an ideal world, how would you run a women's tournament?
Like I enjoyed the way that they ran that clan. They used like basically a deck of participants, and
Mm-hmm.
you went and suit fought everybody that was suit, and then you guys got slotted based on.
Okay.
And I think that version, and I think that they've used that a lot for a lot of large. That you get sorted into your groups, you fight everybody in your group, and the winners of then go in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's great.
That is extraordinarily sensible. And I feel kind of dumb that I didn't think of it either.
I know, right? Like, it's been amazing. Like, it gets you into the brackets really fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's
like it's not hard to rustle up a deck of cards.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll let you keep going up to 52 players.
Yeah, and then even if you're going beyond that, you can just make up your own symbol at that point. Like, you're a star. You're going to the star. Go.
Or okay, grab a tarot deck.
Yeah.
Do you think no one at this Amtgard event has a tarot deck?
Right.
But yeah, it's just something super easy, and then got a pencil and a slip of paper to be able to write or win and other people in pursuit, and
that's really cool.
Yeah, and it worked really, really well, and I think that that's a great way to organize it. Hyping it, I think you could hype it just as hard as you hype any other tournament.
Right.
Like, don't just toss it onto the schedule and then never change it, or just say one about it. Like, every time you're mentioning the one tournament, mention.
Okay.
I think timing-wise, the best time to have it would be after lunch before the afternoon game, because there's always an hour or two where nothing is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not asking the entire kingdom, you're just asking one subset of the kingdom, the women and non-binary folks, to put aside time right then, that's not a huge imposition to ask.
Yeah, and wrestle up about like 5.
Okay. So I know we were talking earlier about different ways that non-men participate in fighting, and one of those ways was archery. Do you think that archery tournaments in Amtgard would improve women participation?
I think there's a potential, but I think we're gonna really have to figure out how to do Amtgard or archery tournaments well.
See, because I've never seen one.
Yeah.
I saw one a long time ago, and it ended in pretty much a dead tie. Because I'm gonna be honest, the bar was fairly low. The bar was to hit a target about the size of a human chest. Which is an enormous target. From various distances away, and the top 3 archers in the kingdom at the time, which I don't remember who they were, but I think Hale was one of them, could hit that from their bow's entire range.
Yeah.
So,
for that archery tournament, were they using Amtgard arrows?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've got to figure out a good way to like figure out how to, like, I've always thought that we should try an archery tournament, but do it the way that they had those blunted arrows in the Princess and the Kwon. They had them like dusted in chalk, so you saw where they hit. And I think that would be a pretty interesting way to see where they hit on the target and have them at different. But I wouldn't know how to implement that. How to talk.
You can buy bags of loose chalk, like for climbing and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was. Yeah, toss some food coloring, or have someone go wipe off the target between each round.
Yeah.
Like take a picture of it.
Chalkboard. Wipe it. I'm sorry.
We may have solved Amtgard.
We've solved archery tournaments in Amtgard. We've done it. Just the 3 of us. Really. What kind of other kinds of tournaments would you ever like to see in
I would like to see. I would
wrestling.
For those of you wondering, Cabbage just put up his dukes.
Yes, that's what happened.
He's ready to knock us all out. He's tired of us.
Over my dead body.
So, aside from more like women's and non-binary tournaments or archery tournaments, I think having like the spellcasters duel was really cool. I think we tried that.
Yeah, I think I've seen one of those, and it was just 1,000 spell balls going everywhere. You were like, there's
like,
socks everywhere.
Whether or not it's like, you know, a sincere competition or not, it was fun and enjoyable to watch. So I enjoyed that a lot. And then like I would like to have more team style tournaments or like 2v2s and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be cool. The last time that I went to Eastwind, they had some really interesting tournaments. I remember I was partnered with Tiger Lily for one of them, and basically your partner became your shield. So I was set. Tiger Lily was less set for a partner. But it was a very interesting style tournament. And I think we definitely need to talk a little bit more with those kinds of game runners that have those kinds of ideas for just interesting tournaments that are fun and not necessarily uber duper serious.
Because like not everyone is interested in getting their sword belt. Like not everyone even competes in a tournament to be hyper competitive or anything like that. So having more like fun, wacky tournaments for people to do.
Yeah. One thing Farrah and I has done that went over absolutely fantastically was a militia tournament.
Ooh.
Where you have all of your armor, you have throwies, you have bows and arrows, you have any weapon combination you can possibly want. We had people step onto the field with like 2 swords in each hand, drop a pair, and like a shield and like a bow, and like taking their entire gear bag into the tournament ring.
Nice.
Went over absolutely fantastically. People had a blast. I don't think we awarded any warriors for it, but no one earned a warrior for it.
I mean, as long as it's like 4 and under, you know, that's battlefield prowess. You can give it for a wacky tournament, I think.
Yeah, I always like doing the bear pit sometimes. Oh, they're so hysterical. I'm so bad at field awareness, though, like, that I got stabbed in the back so much. But it was always a fun, wacky time. Like, gotta stay away from the edge so somebody doesn't hit me, but also be right in front of me. 2 that's also trying to stay away from the edge, but also kill me.
Nice.
The best thing I've ever done in a tournament was take one really big threatening step forward, and the other person took a step back. So I was like, hey, I'm just gonna try this. Took another really big threatening step forward. They like reared back. I took one more step and said, bring out.
Yeah, that's why I'm not a big fan. I like soft and hard. So that.
For me, it really depends on the tournament. Like for an Iron Man, I like a hard boundary because otherwise it just goes all over the field.
Especially when it's like a time. Like, you only have 30 minutes for this Iron Man. What are you doing? Face me.
Yeah.
You're going to kill me anyways. I'm a deadweight. It's what we do.
So do you guys have any like favorite tournament memories, either from yourself or from watching?
I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah. A Qualls several years ago. I did the prelim round, and then I was like, oh, I did terribly. I'm not going to make it into anything. Hey, Soulless, do you want to go to Walmart? So we went to Walmart and got some chips and came back, and then, like, Kazan ran up to me like, where have you been? You're in the tournament. And I'm like,
oh, no.
What? I seeded 8th in one category.
Nice.
I mean, I did kind of glance over the first Midnight Iron Man I was in where I got a bloody nose, which was really fun for me because, like, I felt like going back in after the bloody nose that I looked really raw and cool, but I didn't. I know I didn't. But other than that, probably one of my favorite times was against Mir, I think, with this skeleton shield. We were in like a 5 and under tourney at one point, and we were both legged. We were doing sword and board, and we just kept trying to get that shoulder. And it was just us trading blows what felt like forever. and neither of us could get over our shield. And we were just like, and I'm sitting there about to have an asthma attack because that's my life. And I'm like,
scoop the hip, come on.
I couldn't get under it. I was going up and under and over and switching around, and I couldn't get around his stupid skull shield. And I think eventually I was just so tired that I'd missed one of the blocks, and he finally grabbed my shoulder. And I was like, and I just rolled out of there because I was like, I don't feel like standing up. My knees hurt. And I just rolled out of the pit because I was like, I'm done. I'm
Nice.
gonna go to breathe.
Do you have any good tournament stories?
Well, I wasn't fighting in the tournament, but I was watching the Midnight Iron Man with Pickles. That's Beefy is Pickles' old man. So, one thing that I've decided for our women's and non-binary thing is I'm not going to refer to anyone as like Beefy's wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Pickles,
Pickles, the friend of Beefy.
Pickles, Beefy's roommate.
No, so Pickles, or Beefy is her husband. So it's always she has possession of Beefy, not Beefy has possession of her. Is the way it's.
I like that.
Yeah. So anyway, I was sitting at the picnic table with Beefy's and or Beefy's. Dang it,
with
Pickles.
You were with Pickles.
Yes, I was sitting at the picnic table with Pickles, and
That's a lot of pee. Picnic. Sorry.
Right, that's probably why I was messing it up so bad. But we were both belligerently drunk, and we rolled the picnic table over during the Midnight Iron Man. Yo.
Oh God.
I don't even know if anyone saw because they were all engrossed in the Iron Man, but like
when my very first Midnight Iron Man, Cade punched me in the mouth.
Oh no.
It was that same situation as Kwon. We were both on our knees just hammering at each other. No one could get anything. And like I didn't even realize until he finally got me and I rolled out of the ring. My mouth kind of hurts. And the next day I woke up with a fat lip. And someone asked me like, what happened? Are you okay? Did you bite your lip in your sleep or something? And I was like, I think Cade punched me in the mouth. And he almost went and beat up Cade for me.
I think good stories. I mean, like, as Kingdom Champion, I remember running tourneys and being like, are you sure you're not drunk? You're not drinking right now, are you? They're like, no. And so I'm like, okay. Be in the
walk around with like a breathalyzer.
I'm like, breathe on me. Let me smell it. Of course, in the after times, things like that. I don't want you to breathe on me in general. Stay away. Sorry. But yeah, I was like, it was such a fascinating thing being like, can't tell if you are currently drinking while in this tournament, but I hope you aren't, and then like watching people be like trying to play offhand beer at an Amtgard event, and I'm like, guys, I'm the champion right here. You're on the field with ditch lights on. You know that as a rule of our game, you cannot play and drink, right? They're like, oh, we're not playing. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to walk away now. Kwon is leaving.
You walk like 3 feet away and they just take a freaking fucking swing.
And they just keep going at it. And I'm like, fine. I give up because I feel like dealing with your nonsense.
So I know that you are on the Amped Wiki list for being a non-male champion. Do you want to talk about that?
I just found that. Like, I didn't know the thing. But yeah, I find it very funny because it says first females, and so I am the quote-unquote first female champion of Winter's Edge, which is a thrill, but incorrect. I know that I haven't been out for a super long time, definitely not my entire time in Amtgard. But that is the person who's working.
You're welcome to come swing with us when you're in town.
I am doing my best to not go out anywhere because with my asthma, I'm really concerned.
I understand. Yeah, I keep forgetting about your asthma and how susceptible you are.
Yup, it's super fun. It's not fair.
I'm vaccinated.
I'm obnoxious. Sorry.
I see how it is, Kwon. Thanks.
I'm sorry. It just felt very Finding Nemo to me. I'm going to have a lot of Disney quotes while we go. I hope you realize. Please don't sue us, Disney and Pixar.
If they listen to our podcast, fantastic.
Some Disney executive who plays Amtgard on the weekends down in Orlando is gonna be like, those motherfuckers owe us payment.
You can't talk about Nemo. Well, fine, and your little friends too. But no, I was like really stoked when I first saw it, and then I was like, eat fail.
Femoid.
Because like I hate it. Like I realize that I'm still like super female coded looking, and like
Kwon, you're wearing a baseball cap right now.
What are you trying to say, Vidalia?
This is a very androgynous dress code you have on.
Wait, thank you. And I'm getting a haircut soon. Can't wait. My hair is so long right now. I feel horrendous. But it was just, I felt like really excited to be on a list in Amtwiki, like a knack with all these other big great names, and I'm like, oh. But then, like, I don't know, the word male, like I hate.
We could just go in and edit the list and say non-male.
No.
First non-male of Winter's Edge. How's
so
that?
Strong. Very, very invigorating. Is how it feels to me. But yeah.
Perfect.
But yeah, it was really exciting to see myself be on that list and getting excited that it was first for the Fated Kingdom because I was first champion. So we did allow our very first after we didn't switch officers until the October after plan. So we're like, sure, you guys.
First elected, right?
First kingdom officers. But I was the first elected kingdom champion. And so it was really exciting for me.
So I know a lot of kingdoms still, like, you have to fight and place in tournaments to be champion. And a lot of people find that excludes non-male fighters from the champion leadership role. And especially since non-males are so prevalent in leadership in Amtgard, what do you think about that interaction with fighting and office for the champion role?
Well, it was still that way when I started in Winter's Edge and when I ran for my champion term, is that you had to, the highest placing person declared for office won the champion seat. I find that ideal, that have to, like, I think that you still, if you still have a quals, which I think are quals,
we're still going to have some sort of cultural tournament.
Yeah, but it's not like forced upon everybody to try and run for office, which is such a stressful thing. But I feel like it's an inappropriate metric for a champion.
It really is, because like, even though champion is the one that spends the most time on field prowess has absolutely nothing to do with the job. Like, some of the best fighters I have ever known would make terrible champions just because they're not terribly organized or like creative.
Yep.
And some of the worst fighters I have ever known have done amazing jobs as champions.
Yeah.
Right. It seems like even if it were based off of battlefield prowess, the fighting tournaments aren't the same as being good on a battlefield. Like, knowing your class and having good stick games seem like they're not, always the same, right?
And honestly, if you want a metric for champion, it should be something like either being able to make a game, being able to distribute power well.
Delegate, yeah.
Like, for me, I delegated a lot of my champion duties because I knew I wasn't the best at game creation, but I knew that we have a lot of really great.
In our kingdom especially.
Yeah, no, we're fantastic. We have some amazing brains. Like Cade does some great work.
Mhm.
Geralder's getting really good. Tarlac
Yeah.
does great puzzle stuff.
There's also Clover. He's run the
Mhm.
past few.
Clover,
Battlegames.
of course, yeah. I'm just thinking of like the older ones first. Going back, that's how much.
Yeah. You're good.
Clover's doing well. I've seen some good Samix. Oz from Silver Blade makes some great.
That's Oz Skymane, not Oz the Drunk.
Yes.
Just clarifying.
Yes, not Oz Gileath, but Oz.
Right.
That's how I'll differentiate you guys. We only have 2 Oz's in our kingdom, and yet.
So, have you guys designed? I mean, I know you were champion, but what about you, Sethriel?
Yeah, Baronet is actually doing a thing right now, which I am personally have very mixed feelings about it because I think RP in Amtgard is stupid.
Okay.
Our game, just how it's set up, is not conducive to good roleplay.
Right.
Because we don't have an overarching story, we don't have plot lines, we don't have a plot team that is running the game for years and years and years. But all of my park is really excited about the roleplay aspect of LARPing. And I'm not champion, but I'm acting as champion right now because Avi has his hands full with Monarch and BOD and running for TPM and everything else that he does. And like I said, Chancellor has very little to do until something goes wrong.
Right.
So I have started running a monthly quest. My players are starting to get into it. Like, it's very clear they don't know what to do when they both are being a character and fighting.
Yeah.
But all of them have come up with characters. Most of their characters have one personality trait, and like, you know how you start role playing before you really get into it.
Yeah.
Like, you pick your one personality trait, and it's a 50-50 whether you are a drunk or obsessed with money. Those are the two characters we have on
just
field.
shinies in general.
Yeah, those are the 2 characters we have on field right now. And like, I'm really proud of them. They had some fantastic death, like crazy death throws, wiggling all over the place, and they won the quest, which I'm very proud of them because it was a pretty hard quest. Just fighting some very difficult monsters. And the funniest thing I've ever seen in Amtgard. The last quest we did was a princess quest where they had to escort a princess to her home castle.
Right.
The princess was played by my page Athadia, and the king and queen were Abby and Athena, who was 12 years old.
Perfect.
And
the optics.
Athadia, when she got to the castle, said, "Mom, I missed you," and hugged a 12-year-old, and it killed me.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I remember the first game I ever tried to run. I was Monarch of FR, and it was just after what was the big one with all the things? The open world one that the Seraphim ran.
Crystalline Chronicles?
Yes, it was just after my first CC. So of course I was obsessed with dungeons. So I ran a dungeon. I attempted to, because the first day that I was set up and ready to run it, nobody showed up.
Oh no.
Literally, I sat on our field after hyping it for a week. Nobody showed up.
Aww.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take my toys and go home now and just be sad. It's fine. But then the next week, I was like, okay, since nobody showed up, I'm gonna run it next week. And then like 3 people from the park showed up, but also no, not White Oak, but Iron Springs decided to raid us as well. So it was like, I don't know, 7 people from Iron Springs and like 3 people from FR, and it was around Halloween, so I had gone and I had like 3 chests that I was using for going through my dungeon, fighting 3 different monsters that got steadily harder. But in between each monster room was like a little chest room to go and open the chest, and I had filled it with Halloween candy.
Right.
Which I think is the main reason that people actually like this.
Honestly, Amtgarders are like toddlers. Give them free candy and they will do anything.
I know.
everyone in Amtgard is incredibly food motivated. Like, if you give people food, like we had potlucks at the events or whatever, and people were still like, "That was a great event." Da 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 da. It's just because they got free food.
I just like to cook for people. I'm sorry. I just like to make people happy with how I deal with things. But I remember like you guys were like, "There's a chest here," and you guys were like worried about opening it, but then Awolf was like, "I'm gonna open it," and she opened it and like, "Oh!" and then it stole like most of the candy that was in there. And then you guys went on to the next fight, whatever line. I was really happy that well I had like to open the dungeon.
Nice.
It was fun, but I think I could have stopped it more. It was
Yeah, there's always gonna be some like pitfalls with your first, but you always improve.
My tenure as champion of Fear and I, we did nothing but zombie games because The Walking Dead was the hot new show.
Nice.
Fear and I had a zombie problem for a long time.
Radiant Valley too.
Yeah.
It is Z's fault. Z's full name in the orc is Z.ombi, so zombie. So he did like a whole undead theme for a while.
I'm just glad that Greg was really the star.
I love Gregory. He's our resident skeleton.
Oh, ours is named Hank.
We should.
But like my favorite thing was Subway getting people to tie Gregory onto him.
Yeah, so like he was role playing as Gregory, the skeleton, and he led our dungeon like with the skeleton tied to him, pretending to be this like cranky skeleton man. Anyway, our park should meet and have like a skeleton get together.
Yeah, definitely. A little bit shorter than human sized.
Okay, yeah. Gregory's about as tall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this will
so
be
a little bit shorter than human sized.
Hey now. 40 Cronus.
So speaking of role playing and being short, I know Kwon, your persona is like a hobbit. Is that right?
Yeah.
And we were just talking about role play in Amtgard. Do you have a persona or anything like that?
Kind of. I did not have a firm persona until I got this current page. Athadia is extraordinarily into roleplay. She got her start, like, in nerd culture in general, in Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
And she watches all the live plays. She watches all the podcasts. She plays in all of my games with me.
Perfect.
And a couple of her own. Like, I did not know it was possible to play D&D every day of the week, but god damn it, she tries.
Terrifying.
And she really wanted to play as my lady's maid. And I'm like, okay, but I'm not really a lady. And after the Saint O'Banion episode, I actually started thinking, like, what can I be instead of lady? Because I'm not really a lord either. Captain. Because as a player, I've always had kind of a pirate leaning. I have a really good pirate costume. I've got a fantastic pirate hat. I've played a lot of pirate games, a lot of ship games. And the roleplay we're doing right now is I was set up to be a lady, but I decided to run away and be a pirate.
That's perfect. I love that.
So she is my reluctant lady's maid, following me around.
So she's
kinda
a first mate.
Yeah. Following me around, trying to get me to behave with some decorum. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, nothing gives me more gender euphoria than being called captain.
And that feeling recently gotten people to start calling handsome. Please.
Or when we went to the restaurant and the waiter called you sir.
Oh yes, do tell. Do go on.
I actually didn't realize I was non-binary or like not entirely female coded until I was wearing really baggy clothes and a mask and a hat to work one day. I work for Uber Eats. I'm in and out of restaurants all night, and a guy at Chick-fil-A said, "Excuse me, sir," and I was like, and I thought about it for 3 days. And I was like, So, there is a possibly maybe non-zero chance that I am not a woman.
I've only been wearing cargo shorts and backwards baseball caps since I was 5. It's fine.
Keys on a carabiner, hair in a ponytail, leather jacket, you know.
Perfect.
This is totally normal. No, I'm just a tomboy. This is why I leave my hair long. It's fine.
So, how do you feel like your gender expression interacts with Amtgard?
I feel like Amtgard has been cooler about it than a lot of other areas in my life. Like, I haven't been in school for the last little while, so I haven't tested, like, it against professors and stuff. But, like, a couple of my friends forget frequently, and,
Right.
like, it's okay. It's a new thing. I remind them. They're gonna get it eventually. But Amtgard has been very welcoming and very inviting, and I think non-binary. I think we're a small enough community, and enough of us are non-binary that it's not a shiny new thing.
Right.
Especially not in Amtgard. So like I don't get lumped as the one non-binary person off to one side. I get lumped in with the 50 non-binary people off to one side.
Yeah, like in my day-to-day life, I'm one of so few, but with Amtgard, it's really one of the first places that I decided to try coming out.
Right.
And really exploring how I prefer to be called, what I prefer to recognize as, tell me, and actually was comfortable telling people, no, I actually do called they them.
Right.
I
know your orc got updated for the Lord title.
Yeah. So I've never liked male coded titles anyway. So even before I came out, when I got I was presented with a lady title. But Piam was the PM and Nebi was described like, hey, Nebi, instead of entering that into the orc as a lady title. I just feel called. So
it feels a little bit dismissive, honestly.
Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't. My brain doesn't write for my.
Right.
Understandable. I think non-binariness is so prevalent in Amtgard because Amtgard is so combat oriented, and a lot of the women, quote unquote women who get into Amtgard are already kind of in the tomboy, non-conforming borderline,
right,
kind of zone. So it's not a big stretch to go from a woman who has never worn a skirt in her life to not a woman.
Right. That's all reasonable. Do you feel like FR or Radiant Valley or even at a kingdom level, that this prevalence of like gender non-conforming or whatever helps you not just like be more open with it, but like helps you learn more about yourself and the way that you express gender personally? Like there's now these people that you can talk to about it, or
I don't know that it's so much people I can talk to about it as people who respect me and who are not going to ask me 20 questions about it.
That's fair.
Yeah. It was, for me, being able to come out in Amtgard was going to IK events and see respect. And not questions about what they prefer.
Like, it's very much common at an Amtgard event that if you say, "Hey, I go by they them," you just get a thumbs up, and we'll try to remember.
Yeah.
If we don't, it has nothing to do with our respect for you. It's because we're stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in other places, you always have to wonder: is it an issue of respect or is it an issue of forgetting?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's really the main thing. I have joined the Facebook group for the gender divergent player card, and really helpful to see that there is
Right.
that there's a lot more of it than out on. So it's good that we're there and we're I wish I could remember the Amtgard name of the person who started the Facebook name. But they also came out non-binary,
Mm-hmm.
and they talk a lot about and how their life is really is higher up. They also got
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. Yeah.
I have in my fighting company another person who is openly trans and another person who is openly non-binary. Path of the Dragon can't keep a fucking woman in.
So, what was it like coming out in Amtgard? I know both of you kind of said it's easier than real life. Tell me more about that.
Like, I guess for me it was easier because I don't see Amtgard people every single day of my life. Especially not living in a city that has an Amtgard park. So I don't run into people at Walmart that are in Amtgard. Oh, hey, you. You know, a little spread out here.
Right.
I live. But one day I'll be back. But I guess it was just because I don't gay and that I know that there are people in Amtgard that identify as binary and are identified as binary and get their proper their actual pronouns for like it just felt easier to try it out there first, try it out in my life.
Yeah.
Part of it for me was kind of respectability politics. Like, in my real life, I am no one special. I hold very little power in any sense of the word. But in Amtgard, I am in many ways in charge. So if someone does have a problem with it, it's not someone in charge having a problem with me.
Right.
It's someone having a problem with someone in charge, and I am automatically I hate to say I'm in a position of power over them, but I'm not in a position where they have power over me.
Right.
So I don't have to worry about being either hard or soft kicked out for being non-binary.
Yeah, like retaliation.
Yeah.
I feel like a bobblehead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all just nodding in unison for those listening.
We're not picky. That would never be us. But yeah. How do you feel about the open of Amtgard, Vidalia?
Oh, you know.
Oh, you know.
I mean, I have not had any problems personally at like Radiant Valley or any of the parks that I've visited. Everyone thought I was a dude when I went to Coronation. And so that's why I took all male titles, is because it's kind of an ongoing joke that I'm a dude. So
yeah.
But I never felt like unwelcome because people thought I was a man. I just you know, it's a comical error.
Yeah.
It's okay, we can cut it. So,
And by we mean cabbage. Because I don't know what we're doing in the first place.
that's fair. So, I mean, awkward silence typically means we're coming to some sort of resolution. So,
Mhm.
do you guys, typically we end with like our favorite silly Amtgard story.
Mhm.
Do we want to go round robin and share?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start with Sethriel.
Oh god, I've actually been thinking about this for months. I have two really good, really short ones, both involving Heralder.
Perfect.
One was Heralder got his hands on a Vuvuzela one time,
Mm-hmm.
and brought it to field and was just like blowing on it, like trying to get different pitches. And I convinced him to play hot cross buns on a Vuvuzela. Because he played trumpet and he
Right.
knows like the Omnisure and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we opened a battle game to the sound of hot cross buns on a Vuvuzela. The second one was my first wet event right
Mhm.
after I turned 21. One of Heralder's first ever events right after he turned, I think, 18.
Mm-hmm.
We were playing Cards Against Humanity, and at the time, he did not curse.
Oh my goodness.
So he would word replace all the curses in Cards Against Humanity, and then it became a competition to see who could give him the most disgusting card.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh.
And Heralder's little 18-year-old voice saying, 2 midgets pooping into a buff bucket lives rent-free in my head.
So, do you know? I know it's been a while. Do you have any other like replacements that?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
This one actually made it significantly worse. Rush Limbaugh's soft poopy body.
I'm gonna cry.
Just picture 18-year-old Heralder with his little mop haircut, like flipping down in front of his eyes, trying to say that, and then, oh no.
So what I'm hearing is at the next event is that you should bring Cards Against Humanity and we reenact this moment. Yes, I see it underneath your table. It's perfect. We have to do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, Kwon, do you have a silly Amtgard story?
I'm also gonna tell a Heralder story, but then I'm gonna tell one story. I just find it dumb.
Perfect.
Like, okay, so the first one is one of the events at the murder barn. I remember walking out of the barn because I think we had just done breakfast or something, and so a couple of people started a ditch, and Heralder was out there, and then there was this newer guy that I don't remember his name at all, but what I do remember is that he had made the stupidest hammer I have ever seen.
Oh boy.
This thing was on like a 7-foot pole, and it was a block. It was just the biggest block of foam ever. So basically what happened is this guy is across the field from Heralder, and what you see is him drop his hammer, what I think was directly on Heralder's shoulder, but possibly directly on his head.
Oh no.
And what you see is just Heralder just drops. And everybody's like, that's the best RP death we've ever seen! No.
Oh no.
He was out cold for like 3 seconds. Oh my.
Oh, that actually reminds me of a story that Rabbit mentioned but didn't fully tell. The time he knocked me out on field. It was a castle battle years and years ago.
Okay.
Rabbit was playing as a greater undead minion, running out with a sword and board, just killing everyone and popping back in to get rezzed. And I see him coming down a lane towards me. And I, being a cocksure, dumb 19-year-old, square up. Thinking, okay, he's either gonna stop and fight me on my terms, and I was very confident I could beat him on my terms, or he's gonna blow past me and I'll get him in the back. Apparently, there was an unknown third option where he collides chest first with me. We both tumble to the ground. I fall unconscious for like 10 seconds.
Oh no.
And when I come to, I am just surrounded by people going, "Is she dead?"
That reminds me of my knockout story. Oh yeah, no. So it was the year that we were going for Kingdom. We went to Known World War. I think it was Known World War 2 or 3. It was the one where Polaris decided, because Polaris is a very interesting kingdom, and they decided to just bring one weapon to IK events. This one was Polaris.
I
So
remember Polaris.
yep. So that day, I have a video from that day of just a field pole, like more poles than I've ever seen at any Amtgard event, and some of these are giant. They used sailboat poles to make these pole arms.
Some of them were 12 feet long.
Yes.
Some of them were longer.
Some of them were like 20. So, at that point in the game that we were about to play, they decided that they were going to disallow any 90-45 strike, no murder strike, with any pole arm.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense if you got a 20-foot pole arm.
Which included my 6.5-foot pole arm. Which, if you've known me, has been my main weapon for the 6 years I've been in Amtgard. Most people have seen it. It's a Waldo, way we call it Waldo.
The very big pole.
It's a good baby.
Doesn't it count as heavy?
It does. It's heavy, padded, crushing breaking. And it's actually historically accurate for those of you that don't know, is that's how much of a nerd I was when I first got into this game. I was very interested in going full Korean, which is why I always played monk, why I made this weapon. It is historically accurate size for an actual Boldo. Blade shape, size, and everything. So, anyway, I was, of course, towards the front of the line because I had a polearm against a bunch of other polearms. So there's about 10 polearms on the other side of the field. And basically, at this point, all the polearms just become pool sticks.
Right.
Because that's all we can do at this point, besides, like, sweeping legs. So, this one was about at least a 4-inch diameter polearm that was being pole-sticked. But, of course, I am tiny. I am short. I am about 5'3". So, instead of hitting somebody in the chest, me, in my fighting stance, is even shorter because I bend my knees because that's what I was taught in martial arts.
Right.
That's what you're supposed to do.
That is what you're supposed to do. So I was crouching with my polearm, trying to get under shields and get legs, and then all of a sudden, there's a 4-inch diameter circle that hits me directly in between my eyes.
Oh, no.
And I fall onto the line behind me, so I can't fall on the ground, but I'm out. I'm out. And just before this, on the other side of the field, Bashirin got a safety hold because he got hit in the eye with an arrow. The fletching hit him in the eye.
Oh, no.
So he was a safety, and I was a hold. So we brought the kingdom that had safety issues on the field. And so I'm eventually get laid down on the ground because I've dropped everything and have become a limp body on top of people. And so they stop everything. The entire game gets paused for me as I wobble back up and get stood up and make it over to the side of the field to hang out with Pi, who was watching the game. And there's a beautiful picture because Pi's like, this seems like a great time for a selfie, because he always. When have we not seen Pi with a selfie stick at an event? So there's this really hysterical selfie of me and Pi, me in my camp chair, like half conscious, smiling, attempting to smile. I looked drunk. That's my knockout story.
Vidalia, have you ever been knocked out on field?
No, I haven't. I have gotten a concussion on field. I was punched with a dagger.
You know, you asked earlier, and I think that is our fighting company name. We are the Knockouts.
That's perfect. So when I fall unconscious on field for the first time, I'll submit my application to form our fighting company.
Perfect. I just
I believe in you.
All right. Do you feel like that's good?
yeah, I think
Okay.
good.
I think that's a good place to end it.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube or Spotify to get notified about new episodes. And make sure to follow us on Facebook for announcements and more.